Good morning YouTubers, and welcome back to the David Swordplay Garage. Now this morning we're going to do the valve clearances as per the Motor Guzzi service manual. Should be done every 6,000 miles. So that's what we're going to do today. If this is of interest to you, join us after the intro and we'll get stuck in. We've got a selection of tools here that we're going to need to do this job. You'll need an 11mm combination spanner to crack off the valve adjustment tightening nut. You need a pair of I use these little bent pliers because it's just like a little slot, which we'll show you, to move the actual tappet adjuster. We'll need feeler gauges. We're going to use a micrometer to find top dead center. Now that sounds a bit weird, but we'll walk you through the procedure as we do it. A spark plug spanner, because we need to take the spark plugs out, makes the engine easier to turn. And basically that's all the tools you need really. And of course you've got I think it's a 5mm Allen wrench here to take off the rocker cover nuts, and this is the 4mm one for taking the little screws out round that hold the ignition switch shroud. But as we always say when we're doing these procedures, if you're not confident working on engines, then I would suggest that you find somebody who knows exactly what they're doing. If you set these valve clearances wrong, you could cause all sorts of engine problems for yourself, rough running. You might even burn valves out. So it's really critical that if you're not confident doing this, find a qualified mechanic to do it for you. It'll cost you a bit of money, but you know, it's better to be safe than sorry. Now I'm going to try and show you a logical way of doing it, and if you want to attempt it, then be it on your own head. You must not you know, throw the responsibility back to me. It's like I said, if you're not confident doing this, then you need to get a qualified mechanic to do it for you. Now I recommend loosening the petrol tank so that you can manipulate and get these rocker covers off a lot easier. So how we do that, we take the seat off. There's an 8mm bolt here, goes into a captive nut, and also on the, just let me walk around here and get my torch, which I've put down somewhere. There we go. Now we need to take off the ignition switch shroud, which is this little item, fits into there, and the ignition switch sealing grommet, which fits around the ignition switch. Now down here you'll be able to see two 8mm bolts which go into a captive nut on the frame, and we're going to loosen those off and loosen this one off so we can just lift the tank up at the back with a little wooden block, and that makes the rocker covers easier to get off. So that's the next operation. Slightly now, you shouldn't have to disconnect any of the fuel lines. Here there's a little breather pipe under here, and there's an electrical connection under there you've got to be very careful of. You shouldn't need to disconnect any of those. All we're doing is loosening the tank so we can put a little block under here just to raise the back of the tank, so it makes it easier to get the rocker covers off. So that's what we're going to do next. I'll get back to you in a minute. Okay, so as you can see, we've put a wooden support under the back of the tank. just raises it up slightly so that we can get underneath here to remove the rocker cover easily. Now the first thing we need to do, we're doing the left hand side first, remember. We're going to take this spark plug shroud off so that we can expose the third bolt that holds the rocker cover onto the engine, and we also need to remove the HT lead and the spark plug at a later date before we start doing the valve clearances. But we're going to leave the spark plug in as long as possible so that we don't drop anything into the engine. So we'll transfer the camera to the stand now, and then we'll get this spark plug shroud off, and we'll remove the rocker cover. So there are 4 little Allen screws that need to be removed. To remove this, you've got to be very careful with these because they round off quite easily. So we're going to pop these in the tool tray under the seat because we removed the seat, and at least we know where we are with these. As you can see, you've got to be very careful. Hopefully, what I do, I always sort of wipe them with a bit of WD-40 when I put them back in, so that you don't get the corrosion. Because I ride all winter with this bike, and as you can see, there's a bit of furring going on there that's could cause these little bolts to seize, and we need to keep them nice and lubricated. So take those off, and then off it comes, and there it is. It's just a bit of alley casting, but it covers up the spark plug lead easily. So what we need to do now is pull this off, the spark plug lead off, and there we go, and remove it from this little. You can leave it in and move it to one side, which is probably the best way of doing it. Now we need to take these 5mm bolts out, and that should, I usually brush the dust off before I go any further. So that's what we're going to do next. Now you'll notice that I've got the titanium rocker cover bolts from Guzzi bits on the engine here. They look a lot smarter. Quite pleased with them. I just whiz those out, and again we're going to drop them into the tool tray under the seat so we know where they are. So there's the 3 bolts out. Now we need to try and you might find you need a rubber hammer to release the rocker cover, because it does, as you know, these engines get quite warm, so everything sort of sticks together, so we need to loosen that off. There is a rubber gasket under here, so be very careful unless you're replacing the gaskets when you pull this off, that you don't damage that gasket. Now the spark plug lead goes all the way underneath on this little carrier, so that fits in there like that. So remember that when you take that off. And then we've got to try and get this other spark plug out of the carrier, and this is why we need the seat, the tank moving, so we can get underneath there and prise the spark plug out of this carrier. I have to say, sometimes it's better to take the tank off completely. Okay, so we've now got the rocker core off. As you can see, the spark plug lies in this. I hope you can see that. And you can take it off, but they're usually quite tight, those bolts. So I usually try and get this off with the rocker cover, but entirely up to you. You can try loosen them off, but you can really get the spark plug out of the way. So as I say, you can see that the rubber gasket is still located on there. Now I usually replace these every other valve adjustment. Since I did them last time, I'll be leaving them on this time because they look in good condition. They fit in a groove there. So yeah, so you can replace those. They're about £15 each, so they're not cheap. £15, so that's £30 to do the whole engine each side. Now, as you can see, now we've got the rocker shafts, the valves and the tappets, little arms that operate on the valves. You can have a good look round in there now and check that there's no signs of cracking on these mounting posts. And sometimes I've seen pictures of the valves that have actually jumped, you know, the valve bounce. Some people have been revving the engines that hard that the actual little collet has come out of the valve, but unfortunately we're not, you know, don't seem to have any of those problems. So what we need to do now is remove the spark plug and get this side of the engine on TDC. So now we're going to take the spark plug out, and what we need to do before we do that is just check around the spark plug that there's nothing that's going to fall into the cylinder. So we're going to do that now. It's 5/8 AF spark plug socket, and just crack off the spark plug and wind it out. And we should be able to tell when we've actually got the plug out how well the engine's running. So there's a nice clean burn happening. Spark plug looks in good condition. As you can see, there's a bit of rust down the which we'll clean off before we put the spark plug back. And we need to check there's nothing in there, which there isn't. So we'll, before we put the spark plug back, we'll clean it up. Okay, YouTubers, with the help of Mr. Frost, who's just arrived, we've determined that we're at TDC on the left-hand bank, and we did this by using a micrometer and down the plug hole and feeling when the piston came to TDC, measuring it on the micrometer. Now, that's the way we do it. it doesn't really matter. You don't have to use that. You can use a screwdriver as long as you get it on the compression stroke and you can feel movement in the rockers, as you can hear there. So they're just slightly out. They need tightening up a bit. So that's what we're going to do now. I would suggest that you don't use a pencil or anything like that to find TDC, because you don't want bits breaking off and falling into your engine. So use something metal, thin screwdriver or a micrometer if you've got one, and you'll be able to feel the piston coming up the bore when you're on the compression stroke. So we're now going to adjust the valves, and for this we use an 11mm spanner and a pair of angled long nose pliers. Now you might think looks a bit weird, but that's exactly how they show you doing it in the Motor Guzzi manual. So we're going to do the inlet first, just crack that off. We put our feeler gauge in, which is 0.10 of a millimetre, and we stick that in there, and what we're looking for is a nice slidey fit but will hold the feeler gauge. So we just knit that up a little bit. You don't want it too tight, just so it's a nice slide as you pull the out. That's the way I like to set them. It's a little bit tight, that, but it does go in and it holds. So I'll tighten that one up, making sure that the adjuster doesn't move. Check that again. So we've got nice clearance there. Now we're going to move on to the exhaust, which is 0.15. And that seems to be okay, doesn't it? Happy with that? I'll just double check that the lock nuts are tight. Now while you've got the rocker cover off, it's always a wise decision to check all these alloy castings, see if there's any cracks or any damage on them. So now we've set the valve clearances, we're going to rotate the engine through 360 degrees, bring the piston back up to TDC and recheck them. That's what I like to do. Now you could say that they're set and that's it, but we're belt and braces people. Frosty wouldn't let me get away with it, so we're going to do that now. We're going to go through, you'll be able to watch the cycle of the valves. So the first one we should be seeing now is the exhaust moving, and there it is. And that's doing the exhaust. Now we've got the valve overlap and the valve is opening, and now it's closing. Tony's going to get his micrometer in there and check TDC. Do we need to come up a bit?
Yeah, come on.
Got to move the engine very slowly now. This is why it's always better to have your buddy with you. How's that? You can always double check by pushing on the push rods here. You should be able to turn them with your fingers, and you should be able to get a little rattle on the valves.
So you're a little bit low.
Right, okay. To come up a midges, fair enough. How are we doing now? I think that's it.
That's not far away, that.
So we're just going to adjust the exhaust a little bit. We've just rotated the engine right through its cycle and decided that the exhaust is slightly loose. So we're now just going to nip that up. That's what we want, so it just grips the just moved it now. You happy with that, Frosty?
That's holding it, isn't it?
Yeah. Always, as always, check your lock nuts are tight. So just check them again. Inlet, exhaust.
They're both all dragging about the same there, isn't it?
Yeah. So we're going to call that a day.
Give it another.
So we're going to check it again. Yeah. Belt and braces, Mr. Frost. Okay, here we go then. There's the exhaust stroke, inlet stroke. Perfect. Perfect. So there it is, YouTubers. How to adjust your valve. Now obviously we're not going to show you the other side. What you need to do now is rotate the engine 360 degrees, do the same procedure on the right hand bank, getting top dead centre, checking your valve clearances, adjusting them if necessary, and then rotate it all through the cycle again and recheck them. And then it's just a basic build up of how you took it apart. Now the things I would recommend to you, like I've said, tend to change the gasket every other valve clearance, and this time I bought some nice new rubber washers which fit around the rocker cover retaining bolts, because I have never replaced them, so I've decided to replace these this time to get a nice oil seal, because we're hurtling through the Alps, don't want any oil leaks or anything like that. So there it is, YouTubers. Thanks to Frosty for nipping over, and if you can get a mate to turn the wheel for you, it does make the job a lot easier. I mean, the other way of doing it is taking the timing chain cover off the front and trying to, well, you know, it's a lot of mess. That this way you can double check, make sure you're happy with it, make sure the valve clearances are correct. Very important if you want a smooth running engine. If you have too tight, if they're too tight, I've got no clearance at all, you're in danger of burning a valve out. and even do more catastrophic damage. So as I said before, if you're not confident doing this procedure, then I would ask that you would get a qualified mechanic to do it for you. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.